old enough to stay at home by themselves now. Just about. How's your oldest? 14. Yeah. But he's the boy, so I kind of watch him. I think the 10-year-old might be more responsible than he is.
Your mama wouldn't even let me wear eyeshadow until I was 15.
Oh, really?
Good evening. I'd like to call to order our South Hill Town Council regular meeting scheduled for Monday, January the 8th. Shall we pray? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, just want to take this opportunity to thank you, dear Lord, for allowing us to be here tonight, for allowing our community to begin a new year. Dear Heavenly Father, I would ask you to lead and guide us as we move forward for the betterment of our town and our community. And dear Heavenly Father, we are looking upon our area and our state in regards to the impeding weather that's coming up. Please be with us, protect those who are protecting us, as we will be facing some weather that may cause some inconvenience to some. And dear Heavenly Father, thank you again for all the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us, and protect us as we do what we think is right and what we think is the best for our area and our citizens. As we go forward tonight and into the future, dear Lord, again, just thank you for all the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I would ask you to please stand for our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Anna.
Lily Fagan-Spoon is absent. Ashley Hardy.
Here.
Gavin Honeycutt.
Present.
Lisa Jordan.
Here.
Dolores Lester.
Here.
Mike Moody. Michael Smith.
Here.
And Joseph Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. Council, in your packet was the agenda for our meeting tonight. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Council, tonight we have citizens to address council. We will be going by the order of the sign-up sheet. I would remind the citizens the comments are limited to 3 minutes. I would ask you please come up to the mic and state your name and reason for discussion. And again, I will be going in order, and the first one is Jackie Hinman.
Hi, my name is Jackie Hinman, and I timed this, so I hope it'll be within everybody's satisfaction. Good evening. I'm here to share some history about God's Work, Inc., the Shepherd's Inn, and the Shepherd's Shop for the good of the community. It was before the Town Council during the summer of 2003 that we approached seeking approval to open a homeless shelter in South Hill. We were on the front page news for a while. The then Town Council had us jumping through hoops, going to this and that committee seeking approval. Finally, after months of those procedures without approval in sight, Doug moved in and screened his guests carefully. We had our first guest November 2003. This last November 2023 was the 20th anniversary of helping the less fortunate. According to the records Doug maintains, there has been 36,521 nights of lodging and 109,563 meals that have been served, plus what we've given to the community. God has blessed this mission with the support from churches, individuals, as well as organizations. The hospital then, CMH, donated mattresses, local businesses pledged enough for the windows to be replaced. We had a lot of wow days when blessings just kept coming. I'll never forget the first donation from a gentleman of food from the overflow he had from the funeral of his brother. Before the Mexican store restaurant opened across from Harper's, There was a grocery store there where we bought a banana box size full of unlabeled cans for $2 a box. Each guest would select a can, hoping for the best. Made for some interesting meals. We opened the thrift shop initially across the street, renting it from Paul Duffer, and eventually, as money was accumulated, the current building was erected and paid for within a short time. We obtained the 501c3 classification as a charitable organization to be exempt, which helped increase the donations of product for the thrift store as well as monetary gifts. The police have been helpful in responding to complaints of rowdy customers as well as guests. We certainly appreciate their quick response. There are rules to follow, and if not, Doug doesn't hesitate to ask guests to leave. For instance, no lottery playing, no alcohol consumption on or off the premises, no smoking in the house, and only cigarettes outside. If working, saving 80% to be able to leave and pay for rent, etc. If able to work, looking for a job daily until one is found. Curfew at 10 o'clock unless working, signing in and out when leaving the premises. Guests must pass a drug test before being accepted, as well as a criminal background check. I felt the previous town council really didn't know what was involved in having a homeless shelter in town, and hence their hesitation. I hope this update will open the doors to others who might come before this town council to be given a chance to help others. Thank you for your time and attention.
Going in order, and I'm going to try to assist the next individual, John Schneckler. I want to make sure I say it correctly. John Schneckler. Okay.
I was going to speak on the right-of-way issue.
All right. May I defer you, sir, to when we bring it up under public hearing, if that's okay with you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to make sure you're okay, and you'll be given your time. Okay. The next on the sign-up sheet, Mr. Wade Crowder.
Could you pass it in, please? Wade Crowder, I got a bug. Y'all spent $2,331,735 on that shop, storage, whatever it is. The public won't invite it to go down there to see what it looked like. So the other day I toured the place. You got offices. One office is as big as 4 offices at the Citizen Bank. This is about 3 offices, this whole building right here. Got a break room that just almost as big as Park View cafeteria room. Conference room, that wasn't so bad. One room, when you walked in the door, on the right-hand side was locked. First thing popped in my mind, drugs. Wonder if they had drugs in there. I mean, it's just human nature. When you find a locked door in a public building, something's up. So, I gave those papers right there, and I broke it down to 8 people, the councilman. And each one of y'all should pay $291,466 towards that shop down there. Now, if you didn't vote for it, drop it. Give it to the town manager, she passed it to the next person. And if you're newcomers, well, you couldn't have voted for it. So that's my opinion on that shop down there. And we could take 3 or 4 of those rooms and turn them into homeless shelters. We got a lot of homeless people here in town that need somewhere to sleep. At nighttime, you got the heat on down there. You got all the bathrooms. There's no reason not to let people move in there and stay in the bad times and the good times. Because, I mean, the building's no good to the people that paid for it. Like for me, I'd much rather have a homeless shelter than anything else out of it. Now, last month, at the very last of your meeting, y'all done some voting. About 12 people. You just renewed the contract, and y'all were voting yes, and then nobody voted no. I paid attention to one of y'all up there, and he only voted yes twice, and he smirked the rest of the time. Looked like a little 12-year-old high school girl smirking. Now, I can't call his name, but he know who he is. And it's the same person that told me I couldn't say damaged. So, and he's a lawyer. So y'all can eliminate who's doing that. And the rest of it is the police, the fire department, the rescue squad, the town employees, and the office employees are doing one good job, except for one that needs to go. He's dangerous. And that's about all I got to say about that tonight.
The next, Yvonne Alexander.
Good evening. I'm Yvonne Alexander with the Mecklenburg Senior Citizen. I came tonight basically to thank the Deputy Chief. I had a break-in the Wednesday night at the Mecklenburg Senior Citizen Food Bank, and I had about $2,800 worth of meat stolen and some other things, and I just want to thank him and his officers that he brought over for the manner in which they took care of me. Of course, right now it's still being investigated, but I want the town to know that he and the officers that he brought over, whether they ever solved that crime, but it was the manner in which they made me feel. It's just good to know that you got some officers that show that they care. And he has reached out to me tonight and have texted me and have talked with me just to let me know that he cares. And that makes you feel good to be there. Like I say, it's a loss for this community. I serve about 2,500 people a month there. We are nonprofit. We don't have a lot of people to support us, to give to us, but I had to shut down for a few weeks in order to be able to regroup. I'm hoping to be able to open up in a couple weeks, maybe within the next 2 weeks, because I have to reorder food and stuff to be able to give back out into the community. But we plan to open bigger and better and stronger. But I just want to just let the town know what an excellent job he did in bringing the officers over and the manner in which he made me feel. And I mean, I just think he should be commended on that. That basically, that is what I came here to say. Okay. So I think he should be commended on that. And you know, like I say, I have some things in play. And also, I do want to come before the council at a later date to talk to them about, I do have up no trespassing signs. They've been there for a while. And if I can prove people that are on my property after hours, is there any way I can enforce no trespassing? We have people that park there after hours, late at night, on weekends and stuff. Can no trespassing tickets and stuff be enforced? You know, that's something maybe the council can talk about at a later date or later time in y'all closed sessions or whatever, and if somebody will get back with me on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next individual, now just for clarity, is Ruth Smith. Is Ruth Smith?
Yes, sir. I'm here to speak about the easement as well.
Okay, may I respectfully ask when we get to that part of the agenda, is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
As part of the public hearing? Okay, we will make sure you get your time, okay? Thank you. Okay, that concludes our citizens to address council. Next on the agenda is our public hearing. I'll turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, I have the Voluntary Boundary Adjustment Agreement public hearing. A notice of public hearing was published in the December 20th and 27th editions of the News Progress to inform interested parties that Council will hear comments regarding the proposed Voluntary Boundary Adjustment Agreement by which certain properties currently located partly in La Crosse, Mecklenburg County, and partly in the town of South Hill will be relocated entirely into the boundary of the town which properties are highlighted on the document before you this evening at your dais and are described later in this report. The Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors held their public hearing on the matter this morning, and the boundary adjustment was approved by their board. If there are no comments of council, the public hearing is now open for all wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to this request.
That means public,
Excuse me?
the public,
Yes,
where's all this taking place at?
off 138,
138.
Union Mill Road.
How much y'all gonna take in?
I mean, I don't have the property, like the acreage you mean?
Yeah, how much, I mean.
I can defer to, I believe Clint Clary is here this evening, if he can shed some light on the details of the adjustment.
Oh, he ain't gotta do it right now.
Okay.
All right, then, and you gonna take in a lot of resident houses, or
No, sir, it's commercial lots.
you gonna take in commercial stuff?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Crowder, I'm going to answer some questions. This is a property that's about a half mile down 138 on the right before you get to Caterpillar Drive. Thompson Welding is there, and then next to that is Sunbelt Enterprises Rental Company,
Okay.
and then Greenlight Investments, which David Biggs and I own the backside of that. All three of the parcels are partially in the town and partially in the county. So we're seeking to get them all in the county. So I'm here on behalf of Russell Thompson, Thompson Enterprises, KAC Investments, which is David Biggs and his daughter, and Greenlight Investments, which is David Biggs and me. And then you asked about the acreage involved. I can show you on the map, but they haven't broken down the amount that was in the county and the amount was in the town.
My only concern was poor residents. I didn't want to put them
Yes,
in
I
town.
understand.
Businesses, I got no objections.
It's all commercial, yes.
Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, the public hearing is now closed. The recommended motion is included in your packet for this evening.
Council.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move to adopt the resolution to approve the voluntary boundary adjustment agreement by which certain properties located partly in Lake Clark Magisterial District, Mecklenburg County, Virginia, and partly in the town of South Hill, Virginia, be relocated entirely into the boundary of the town.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call, Anna?
Fagan Spoon is absent. Hardy?
Yes.
Honeycutt?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Luster?
Yes.
Moody?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
And Taylor.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Anna.
All right, next I have the public hearing on the easement and development agreement. A notice of public hearing was published in the December 27th and January 3rd editions of the News Progress to inform interested parties that council will hear comments on a proposed easement from the town of South Hill as grantor to Marrow Street Solar Farm LLC as grantee. The proposed easement will allow the access to the property to be used by the grantee or its designee in connection with a small-scale solar facility in the town. The easement will cross land owned by the town and is identified as tax parcel number 25884. As further clarification, this easement is for the ongoing maintenance of this project through the life of the project. A separate easement was or will be obtained through an adjoining property owner by the solar company for use during the construction phase of the project, which allows the solar company access on Jubilee Drive off of East Farrell Street during construction only, of which, that easement agreement, we do not have any control. Again, this public hearing is for an easement for maintenance located off of Marrow Street. And if there are any comments by council at this time, I'll continue. Okay, the public hearing is now open for anyone wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to this request.
Is that solar place called?
If you'll come up to the mic, Mr. Crowder, and state your name. Mr. Crowder, you spoke, and then I'll get Mr. Stanley.
Well, I just done it and didn't stand up for the upper one.
Because you jumped right in, Mr. Crowder, if you would, to the mic.
Yeah, I don't mind. So is that solar place gonna be in the corporate limits of South Hill or outside corporate limits?
In the corporate limits,
Now, where's this at?
off of Marrow Street.
Okay, give me a direction to it. What's that? What was that?
There's nothing there right now. It's behind Marrow Street.
That's over there where the lagoon used to be at.
Yes, sir.
It's behind my house.
So the lagoon.
That's why we're here.
And it's gonna have solar panels right there.
Gonna back up to my
Okay,
house.
all right, we're looking for Mr. Crowder's comments, one at a time, it's a public hearing. So your question, Mr. Crowder?
I'm dead against it. They done had to live with a lagoon out there that's supposed to have been cleared and hauled off, and it was dug up and buried. First of all, they stuck them on that. Now you want to put a solar panel place out there. They don't need one right there. Put it in the country somewhere now, or don't put it in there.
Mr. Stanley, you were next, I think,
Thank you.
and if you would state your name, please.
Good evening, Stephen Stanley. I live at 408 Benton Street. Mayor, council members, thank you for hearing my thoughts on the proposed agreement with ESA Solar, a company located 4 states away in Florida. I encourage you all to vote against this easement and agreement. ESA intends to cut the wooded lot behind 6 houses on Mara Street for a solar farm adjacent to the well-established quiet neighborhood of Northington Heights. ESA proposes an agreement with the town for an easement through our neighborhood. There is no other way to get to the easement but through Northington Heights. Some concerning inclusions include a 40-year easement term, constraining future development opportunities for 4 decades. The developer's right to remove vegetation or structures at will. The developer's obligation to construct a solar farm is not guaranteed. The town might not receive any compensation until December 2028, maybe never. However, the developer will control the easement. The agreements bind on the successors or assignment by the developer to a different party. For what purposes, I don't know. The developer's exemption from local taxes. The developer's assertion that the project is in accordance with the comp plan because the solar farm is located in a zoning district that allows solar facilities by right. The current language allows a magnitude of uses by right, excluding solar and wind generation except by special exception. ESA Solar does not need an easement. Jubilee Drive leads directly to the proposed parcel and it's used to access the adjacent cellular communications tower parcel. A 40-year easement across the town's public property to gain access to a private business enterprise is detrimental and avoidable. ESA Solar proposes the agreement excludes it from paying local taxes with no guarantee of any payments. However, Northington Heights will continue to pay taxes to the town forever and should have the expectation that council will grant an easement to ESA through our neighborhood. Property values in the Northington Heights neighborhood are over $17 million, with over $60,000 in tax payments due in 2023. ESA proposes to pay $4,000 in year 1, 23/1000ths of a percent of the town's 2024 budget, with a yearly increase over 40 years for a total payment of $241,607. Northington Heights tax collections over the next 40 years at current values and rates are $2,425,927, over 10 times the revenue share proposed by ESA Solar. While ESA may have a right on the exploitation of an unfortunate change zoning code, that does not make it right. This proposal is not a good deal for the town nor the community, especially Northington Heights. I encourage you all to vote against the unbalanced proposed agreement and unnecessary easement tonight and forever. Thank you for your time.
Any other comments?
Good evening. I am Ruth Smith. I'm the resident at 801 Merrill Street. I don't own the property as of yet. I'm living there a few years with the intent of purchasing the property in the future. So I'm a single mother living there, and downstairs in the area, it's a 7-bedroom home. I have some elderly and disabled people there. I don't know a lot about this particular project, but I was approached and given the information that that entity would be coming there. I am not opposed to enhancing infrastructure within our community because bringing jobs here is a plus, it's a win-win for the community and for us. But I am opposed to having the property, that establishment in the back of my yard. I think I am actually the 6th house there. We have deer that I enjoy watching that come from that area. I'm sure when the solar panels come, the deer will probably not come that way. Plus, if it's anything like, I work in the Department of Corrections, I know sometimes we send inmates to these solar farms, it's loud, and I know that sometimes inmates work at those solar farms as part of their skill set. So I would have a concern about who would be managing that property? Would they be some of the people that would be coming to work there? Not that I'm anti returning citizens, it's just that it's right there at the rear of the residential area. Hopefully it will fall in the guidelines of the 1,000 feet or better. However, it's still right there. I am the 6th house there. So my little statement from those of us that live at 801 Merrill Street reads, Dear Town Council, we the residents of our beloved neighborhood on 801 Merrill Street, South Hill, Virginia, are expressing our deep concern regarding the proposed easement in our quiet community. And truly our community is very, very quiet. It's a really peaceful area there. Our neighborhood is a very comfortable place where children play freely and residents, including disabled elderly, enjoy peaceful walks. So the reason why I injected that statement is because if we have a way where these folk are gonna enter their establishment from that street, children are always in the summertime out there playing in the yards, they're playing with balls. There are plenty of animals, dogs in the neighborhood. So you may have a child who's not looking in that little strip of land there and run out into the street. And then in particular, because I'm a nurse, I have a concern about the one elderly gentleman that walks with like these 2 sticks. He walks every single day, and God forbid some large construction vehicle or whoever's going to be entering the property sees him, and he walks kind of in the middle of the street because he can't reasonably walk in the grass, and he's struck. So those are just some of the safety things that run through my brain as I think about a business accessing an area at that lower end of Merrill Street. The introduction of an easement will increase the traffic flow in the area and could disrupt this harmony we currently experience as well as pose potential daily safety risks dependent on the influx of movement to and from the new business in the residential area.
Okay.
We understand that easements may be necessary for certain infrastructure improvements. However, we urge the relevant authorities, which would be you guys, to consider the unique character of our neighborhood and the potential impact on its residents.
Ma'am, if you could wrap it up, your 3 minutes, please.
I'm sorry, yes, sir. We believe that our concerns are valid and request a thorough review of the proposed easement plan. We are confident that a solution can be found that meets the infrastructure needs while preserving the tranquility and safety of our neighborhood. Last statement, we are hopeful for an alternative solution that respects the interests of all parties involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
John, I know, you were on the sign up earlier. If you would like to speak, I want to make sure you're not overlooked.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Trickler, and I'm a new resident of South Hill. I'm very happy. I bought a nice piece of property on Holmes Street, just right in the middle of this neighborhood that's affected. I have 19 years experience with county government in Chesterfield County, and I had far more than that in working as a representative for the homeowners in zoning and other cases before the board. I looked at the piece of property, I looked at the data, I looked at the information, and I looked at the pros and cons of the property. The only pros that I could find were that it provided 2 different access points for the company. One of them is this Jubilee Street, which my wife and I drove down, and it goes down to the cell tower, and we drove around it. There's no signs pointing up. We stopped and we got down to the end of the road and turned back, and then we came around to our neighborhood and looked at the property. And of course, there's a no trespassing sign at the end of that street right now. It has something to do with some sewerage lift facility, and I'm not sure what that is exactly. But it's pretty obvious to me that that property was created as a drainage storm runoff for the highway. And if the things against this are that they're going to have to build a road and probably put 2 culverts in, so they're going to have a lot of construction to go onto it. We do have the county will have the liability, I think, because they approved this, that since that is a storm runoff and wetlands area, that a future rainstorm like it may be expecting comes up, that property is low, and it's going to, there's streams running through that neighborhood, and all that property, including where the solar panels are, if you clear the trees off of that, all you're gonna do is create runoff. So we're gonna quadruple the runoff in that area. I think there's be a loss of tax revenue because those values of those homes along there are going to drop. The heavy traffic through that, especially down the roads going to it, these are small residential roads that are not designed for heavy duty traffic. And the city, I don't know whether the town maintains those roads or whether VDOT maintains them. I assume the town, but they're going to have a lot of tear up from trucks coming down there. And they are narrow, and they are, as you said, there's lots of kids and people walking there all the time. We also will lose the wetlands, and I did look at some topographical maps and realized that the neighborhood is 367 to 374 foot above sea level. That town property that they're proposing for is 351, the lowest point. The property that we're looking at for the panels, I believe, is 361 to 404 feet above sea level.
And sir, respectfully, could you wrap up?
Okay, yes, sure, please. And the retention, well, there's a pond on there. I guess it's a retention pond. I'm not sure. Apparently the lagoon was claimed, but there is a pond on there that's 364 feet above sea level. And that's like 15 feet above this land. So if we get a real heavy rain, these 100-year rains that are happening every 10 years now, that area is going to flood. And I mean, it's going to flood bad. And I think that's one of my biggest concerns for it. And I'm a big supporter of solar power.
All right, thank you.
But
Thank you.
you know, I do have some concerns that I do hope you'll vote against it until we can resolve some of those issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could politely ask those who have spoken tonight so far, your notes, could you make sure you get with Anna so we can get copies of those notes for our minutes? If I may ask that respectfully. And Ms. Smith, is that okay? Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. All right, I'm sorry, continue with the public meeting.
Any more comments?
Good afternoon, I'm Holly McFarland. I'm just gonna read what I shared with a few of the councilmen earlier this week. I purchased my home on Merrill Street, 820 Merrill Street, May of 2003. Originally it was a starter home, and here I am 20 years later still there. I love the area. I've lived there the entire 20 years and raising my 2 sons there. We've managed to maintain a peaceful and safe neighborhood over the past 2 decades. We are opposed to the town issuing an easement off of Denton Street to the solar farm due to the increased traffic, noise, and overall disruptions. The proposed farm will be located directly across the street from my home, behind several residential homes. The area is currently wooded and serene. I'm seriously concerned about the overall impact this will have on our property's future marketability, value, and appeal. There's really no reason for a solar farm to be dropped so close by to an established residential neighborhood. In addition to the above stated oppositions, we are also opposed to the fact that the easement appears to be written as if it would be assignable. I think that the general public understands that solar farms can come in, build them, fail to properly maintain the area, and maybe even sell them off pretty quickly. If the easement is granted with the proposed language or its designee, there is no telling who will be allowed to utilize the easement over time, causing further concern and disruption for the residents. Thank you.
Yes. Who was next?
Can anybody speak now?
Ms. Storm.
I was thinking, this lady, then you can now.
Mrs. Storm was next.
Hi, I'm Sherry Storm. Sherry Storm, and I live on Holmes Street in the affected neighborhood. I'll just read what I sent to 3 of my representatives this afternoon. I would like for you to consider my objection to the town of South Hill granting access through Northington Heights residential neighborhood, specifically Benton Street, to the Marrow Street Solar Farm. I've owned and lived in my home in this neighborhood since June of 1992. It's zoned as a single-family residential neighborhood, R1 or R2. While I don't object to a solar farm, I do object to public construction access through a relatively quiet, single-family residential neighborhood. The precedent this was set to is worrisome. We are currently bordered by I-85, the Atlantic Street Commercial District, the McCracken Lombardi Freeway, which is my terminology for it, the Dominion substation, and I believe that granting access through our neighborhood will only create more noise, litter, street deterioration, and most likely a decline in property values when compared to neighborhoods like Pettistown, which was used for comparable home values in the most recent home appraisal at my house. Perhaps the Marrow Street Solar Farm developers could consider asking for access through another means. And I thank you for consideration, and I love my town, and I hope that this all works out for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie Hinman, I should have read my paper more carefully, but I'm glad I'm here. I object to this. I don't think it's necessary to have solar farm. I've seen others and they deteriorate and they use materials that are expensive to dig, losing forests that provide us oxygen. I don't think it's a smart idea. We need all the trees we can have and manage and plant more. So I object.
So, my name is Renee Dolan. I am not one to ever come to these type of meetings. I'm gonna give away my age a little bit. Let me tell my story a little bit. I moved to this neighborhood about 6-7 years ago from the country. Didn't have any interest in living in a neighborhood because I was used to my privacy. The neighborhood is wonderful. It's peaceful. Everybody gets along. There's never any issues. Come April, I will have 8 grandchildren. I have 4 kids. Didn't think about how many grandchildren comes from that. And 5 of them will be under the age of 5. They play in my yard. I have them all the time. They love my neighbor's dog that lives across the street. And the access road, my house is here. The access road is right here. The thought of equipment, right now the town goes back there every now and again. It's not even often. The thought of having equipment and trucks and the type of traffic that would come from a solar farm, which I should say, I don't know anything about a solar farm. I'm not for or against it. I'm against it being right there. Pets, I mean, people are out there with their pets all the time. It sounds, it's just so peaceful. People go out there, they're, walking in the street, you see people walking with their pets. My dog gets loose in my front yard. Because I don't have any, I live the house here, and then the end of the road. I'm gonna have to start worrying about all of that stuff now, which I know it's my responsibility to keep up with my grandbabies and my pets, but to have that type of traffic that just seems unnecessary. In my mind, from what I know about it, the only one that's gonna benefit is an out-of-state company. It's probably gonna come in and make a lot of money, where the people that live in this neighborhood are gonna have the burden of worrying about all of the traffic, and it's not realistic. It will not be a disturbance. It's absolutely going to be a disturbance. There's no way that it wouldn't be. So I just would like for everybody to consider, if that was their house and their family situation and what they were used to seeing, that they would really seriously consider whether this is a good idea for the community, because I think that's what's important right here. And I'm not as well prepared as everybody else. Like I said, this is the first time I come to a meeting like that, but I am truly concerned about what it's going to do to the disturbance of the neighborhood. And
my 2-year-olds are fast. I can't keep up with them, and so I'm like, if these heavy trucks are coming, and I got one in one direction, I'm very concerned about that. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's very concerning to me. So, and I know other people. I have an elderly neighbor that doesn't get along well. I know exactly who she's talking about with the handicapped gentleman. And it's something that we should be concerned about, because one of my sons is in correction, and 2 of them are linemen. And I know how construction guys are wild with their vehicles and different things like that, because you know what I mean? So they're not that I would predict that they would come in there and do anything, but they're not gonna be super careful. They're not gonna know what we have in our neighborhood, and I just urge you to consider that, because it could potentially cause a very serious problem. And I thank y'all's consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the gentleman, he's made 2 attempts to get up to the microphone.
No, it's fine.
You've made 2 attempts. If you'll state your name, sir.
That's okay. Yeah, my name is Hunter Coy, head of the Coy household, representing the back. 8 of us. We live on Benton Street, and we moved here from downtown Memphis, Tennessee in 2020, so right in the middle of the pandemic. And we've enjoyed living where we're at, and the kids particularly enjoy just thriving outside. They're ones that are out there every single day, and moving from an in the city environment to be outdoors in the trees and the woods has just been amazing for them. And so I also just want to voice my concern as well for the children and the potential increase of danger that could be exposed to them, whether it's a vehicle accident or even kidnapping, or there's a lot of construction around this area, we've learned, and so tons of outsiders, people that aren't of the area that we don't really know. And so it seems that we're increasing the unnecessary opportunity for danger to occur to our children. And as citizens of the town, I don't think we should have to live in any sort of fear like that, or added pressure or concern or anxiety for some. And so, yeah, thank you, Mayor and Town Council, for hearing what we have to say.
Does the young man have a name? He gets 3 minutes too.
His name's Azariah. He'll be 2 at the end of this month. He doesn't say much yet.
All right. We'll save his 3 minutes then. All right.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Sarah Coy, that's my husband. Again, we're at 404 Benton Street, and I just want to say that we are opposed to granting the easement. Again, we have 6 children currently. I'm a homemaker and a homeschool mom, so not only are we home and playing outside after hours, we're home all day. So whenever access would be granted through the duration of the contract or easement agreement, we would be outside morning, afternoon, evening, and so we don't want the increased risk for our children. We also are so thankful to be a part of this neighborhood. We moved in knowing it was an established neighborhood, not expecting a lot of construction, a lot of changes. It's been a great place to raise our children the last 3.5 years for us. And also, I want to say, we also got a puppy, and so I want to be able to let my eldest walk the dog down the street. And I don't know that I'll be able to do that if the easement is granted, because I won't be able to keep my eyes on them as well, and I can't get to them as quickly if there were a construction vehicle or maintenance vehicle, as you're saying, using the road at that time. So I just want to voice our opposition, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How do I make this? It's okay. My name's Justin. Appreciate everybody's concerns here. I know I'm supposed to face the board, but I feel like y'all have been talking, so I want to face y'all. I'm owner of the company who's working on this project, and we held the lease on this land for a few years now. I'm never going to complain about having one child, and what she does after I see y'all graciously. They're quieter than my one kid. It's amazing. So y'all doing something right. But anyways, I drove down here. I live in DC, so I'm not too far away. I know someone's concerned about proximity. We've got several projects that are going under construction, 2 in Halifax, 1 in Lunenburg, so we're spending a lot of time in Southern Virginia doing these projects. So a lot of the concerns that folks have around safety is a natural concern and super, super common when we're developing projects. Anything new, anything that's changed, anything that's unknown generates fear, generates concerns, and as a result, people have questions. And so, you know, I wanted to be able to address a few of them. One, during the construction, when you see the heavy machinery, that's going to be coming from the north off Jubilee Drive. That's not going to be coming down through the neighborhood. We're not going to be coming in with heavy machinery from that location. Once these projects are built, we're largely just coming in with a pickup truck, sometimes towing mowing equipment. If we need to be mowing during the rainy season, that could be twice a month. But most of the time, you're just sending out a single truck once a month out to the site to do operation and maintenance. That's one trip a month for a 20-acre property, which is far less than a single-family home often does 10 trips a day. So it's a far less traffic. So that's some, I think that's just important to note. This is an industrially zoned property, and if any other type of permitted use on an industrially zoned property that's been industrial for quite a while now would be far more intensive than solar. The way these projects are designed, we maintain the ground cover underneath the panels, so when you bring concerns about stormwater runoff, sedimentation, erosion, wetlands, when you establish a strong ground cover underneath your solar panels and vegetation, we have the ability to really catch that water and do it properly versus if you're paving or creating a parking lot or any other type of industrial activity that creates impervious surface. So we'll have to follow all the state guidelines and follow the stormwater management processes, which is very, very standard in Virginia, and Virginia's got really good standards when you look at other parts of the country like North Carolina. Solar's quiet. The project is dedicated 100% to low moderate income residents, so that's where the power is going. Ultimately, we're selling the power. If low income residents are customers of Dominion Energy, they can buy the power from the site. It's 10 to 15% from their electricity bills, and considering that only 20% of Americans can even do solar on their home, it's a great way for them to get cheaper electricity and focus on Virginians who are low moderate income, and that energy bill that hits them every month really makes a difference. And so if you can shave time off, that helps. And I'll just wrap it up with a couple final points. Just in terms of construction timeline, we knocked the project out this big pretty recently. I would say it was in Q4 last year in 6 to 8 weeks. These projects are pretty easy to build. They don't take too long. It's not a difficult construction process, so it's not something that's going to be ongoing like a residential development where you're going out and putting in sewer, potable water, pulling in new electricity distribution infrastructure. That's not going to be applicable. It'll be fenced in properly. So again, this easement is about the operation and maintenance of the site. It's about coming in once or twice a month to the site once it's built. It's not about the construction. Totally get your concerns. We won't be bringing in heavy machinery there. And we're happy to make ourselves available. We told folks here that we're happy to do a little neighborhood meeting with folks if they have questions or concerns. I understand the site was permitted by right when we originally got the permit, but we're happy to spend the time to educate folks and make sure that everybody's sensitive and aware. Again, we all got small kids, and so all my partners have small kids, and you know, we'll make sure we do the right thing. So happy to get my information out to folks who need it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that hasn't spoken already?
My name is William Seeley, and my wife Linda. We've been on Mara Street for 34 years. I just want to speak on the natural habitat in the back of our yard. Acres and acres of wild animals, deer and their fawn. We have an eclectic collection of birds, cardinals, bluebirds. We're going to see the complete demise of these natural creatures in this habitat. And I hate to see that. Having lived in Northern Virginia for so many years and not having nature around us except for human nature, and we see how destructive human nature can be, but the peace and tranquility of our animals and the natural habitat will be destroyed. Just want to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, the floor is now closed. The public hearing is closed. Council.
Council?
It's your pleasure.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to have a motion and a second before we can have council discussion?
I would prefer yes.
You would prefer yes? With that being said, I would move to approve the proposed easement and development agreement and further authorize the town manager to sign all relevant documents. And I make that motion in order for the council to be able to have a discussion regarding same.
I have a motion.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor and council and public, I'm gonna try to make this as brief as I can and give a little background as to how this is all developed. I am the town representative on the planning commission, and we have several planning commission members who are here tonight. And I truly appreciate anybody who comes and speak either for or against any particular project that may or may not take place. Spring of last year, or 23 I should say now, Planning Commission was advised that there was a solar farm that wished to come to South Hill. To my knowledge, nobody in that room, when we were told this, was in favor of it. But we were also, so we went to our code book and looked it up, and we got the legal opinion from the attorney, from our town attorney, that there was nothing that we could do to stop the solar farm, because it is, as this gentleman has said, by right. That if they wanted to come here, we couldn't stop it. Absolutely nothing we could do, because the code had not been changed. We have since changed that code, that it has to be by special exception. But that does not eliminate the fact that the solar farm is coming to South Hill. What we're talking about tonight is the easement to get to that solar farm. The solar farm people have already secured an easement through property owner for construction purposes. As this gentleman has said, the construction equipment will not be coming through Northington Heights. It will not be going down Merrill Street, Home Street, Benton Street, any of the streets over there. They will be coming down Jubilee on the other side. That is between them and the property owner over there. I wish the town is not that property owner. So we don't control that. As far as this easement is concerned, they would be able to go in there and out there for maintenance purposes only, whether it be to cut the grass, to check the solar panels, whatever the situation may be. Maintenance, typically maintenance on this is what we found out, is maybe 1 to 3 times a year maintenance, not including grass cutting, things of that nature. You know, something arises out of the ordinary, then of course they'll have to go down there, but it'll be maintenance trucks. It will not be construction trucks. I thoroughly understand the concern from the people who live there, who have children, the peace and the quiet. I wouldn't want construction vehicles coming by my house either. Wouldn't want it. So with this easement, this would eliminate the construction vehicles going in front of your homes and by your children. It's going to come from the other way completely. When I first heard about this, I was totally opposed to it. I don't know of anybody in this room that is in favor of it, even though you may understand everything that I've heard has been against it, and I understand it. I wouldn't want one in my backyard either, but it's going to be there because it's by right. We can't stop that. I wish we could, but we cannot. I'm not sure what else to say. We have to go with the cards they were dealt us. It's not always popular. but it's the things that we have to do. Whether it be this project or maybe projects in the future. I don't have anything else to say other than this is the only way that I think that the town can have some control over the easement. And that is what we're voting on tonight, is the easement agreement. That's it, nothing else. If anybody else from my colleagues would like to say something, please feel free.
So, I want to reiterate what Councilman Vice Mayor Moody just said. And I want the public to understand this, because I'm totally against the solar farm. Have been from day one. It's out in the country or something somewhere, fine. But I want the general public to understand that Gavin is having to play the cards that Gavin was dealt. Now, you can read in between the lines, whatever you need to do. I have major concerns about this. Jubilee Drive, I have a good friend, a good family that owns a daycare center there with 250 plus children. We have a assisted living facility there that houses 60 plus individuals. I have major concerns, people coming down that road that we don't know or I don't know. God forbid, I'm sure they're all vetted who will be coming down there, maybe one in particular doesn't get that away. But I do have major concerns about this whole thing. But at the end of the day, I want you to hear me again, that we're playing the cards that we were dealt. And everybody's smart in this room. So, again, I'm not going to support this decision. I'm going to vote no, because I haven't wanted it from day one. But I'm only one vote. I'm one of 8. So, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Moody has given a thorough summary of the procedural history of why we're here, in specific with regard to the easement. This property, unfortunately, prior to our service on this council, was designated an industrial, and therefore solar was not an exempted use but a permitted use. And so when the project came before Planning Commission, eventually council, as Mr. Moody indicated, permitted means permitted. We have taken action. We took action swiftly last year to ensure that by making it special exemption status, that we would have the power to follow your wishes moving forward. I oppose this project. I have a record of opposing every solar project that's come before me since I was on Mecklenburg Planning Commission prior to even serving on South Hills Town Council. I believe that solar operations, they're not farms. They produce nothing of real life to anyone. I believe that they are an environmental degradation. They prevent additional and further economic development. They isolate properties for extended periods of time, in this case, up to 40 years. I'm completely opposed to the industry, not this project, the industry. But having said that, what's before us tonight is the singular way that we can rein in, control the operation and how it's constructed. It is the only way, because if we don't vote yes on this, we're relegated to permitting them to drive on whatever roads they wish to drive on, to establish whatever easements they wish with other property owners. And at that point, we have absolutely no control, no guidelines, no boundaries to put, no guidelines, no restrictions to place on the project to ensure that it can be monitored thoroughly, and that you can notify us if they're not following the rules. This is the only way we can do it. I hate it. I do not support the project, but the best thing that I can do as a representative of Ward 3 is to vote yes so that we have some measure of control, because we can't stop it. But there is a benefit moving forward to understanding that last year we took action to ensure that this unregulated ability to come in and just put a solar farm in the middle of a municipality where it doesn't belong doesn't happen again unless the body sees much more evidence with respect to whether it's the best possible use of the property. This is not the best use of this property. Thank you.
In response to comments made, the time frame, as I stated earlier, the planning commission was made aware of it the spring of 23, February, March, April, somewhere in there. And in May of 23, and then council was made aware of it, that, hey, there's nothing we can do to stop this, but we can change our code. And we changed the zoning code. We advertised for the public hearing in May of 23, and we had the public hearing in June of 23, and that's when the code was changed to make this special exception. So now anybody that is thinking about in the future bringing a solar farm of this type or solar farm in general to the town of South Hill, number one, they will have to go before the planning commission first. Number two, they will have to go before the town council. Previously, before we made that change, before the council made that change, they didn't have to go before anybody. And they didn't. Because they had the right to put a solar farm there. As Councilman Taylor has said, this gives us some control over the future.
So, one comment. And you know, the word control, you know, you can define it many different ways. So I want to give you a for instance. My partner and I own a farm in North Carolina, just over the line. And it was over 1,000 acres solar farm that was put there. And we were promised all of this nice facade and these trees, and we were going to keep it up. Well, it's been 3 years and they've done nothing. So, you know, when we say the word control, you know, at the end of the day, how much can we control? Because again, we've been promised this and it hasn't come to fruition. You know, again, I get it, you know, we'll have a say-so, or the council would have a say, but just bringing privy to something that's already happened and been promised to property owners and landowners, it hasn't come to fruition. They had 1 year to do it, it's been 3. And, you know, I know our association or homeowners can't afford to go and take them to court and do anything about it. You know, we're at their will. I mean, what can we do? We're going to spend millions of dollars in taxpayers' dollars just to fight somebody to cut grass or clean up vegetation or something. I'm not willing to do that. So, you know, again, I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
There's 0 provisions in this agreement to protect that neighborhood. No provision whatsoever.
This is part of council's discussion, I'm sorry. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, it's been implied, but I want to make sure that the people of South Hill understand. Number one, I'm sorry that this is coming. I'm sorry it's coming to the neighborhood. And number two, I want everyone to make sure they understand there was no vote taken by this council. This was not up to us to approve. This was by right. They just did it. This was not something that we could approve. This was not something that we could turn down. I just want everyone to be clear that we're sorry, or I'm sorry, and I did not approve, we did not approve this. So I just want to make sure, because listening to people, what they were saying, I think they think that we had some control over whether this could come to town or not. And that's not accurate. We could not control this. And as soon as we found out about it, we took the necessary steps immediately to ensure that it could not happen again to you all. And I'm sorry as I could be.
All I was going to say was I agree with everything Councilman Moody and Taylor says of no matter what, the solar farm's coming. There's nothing we can do about it. I still to this second don't know how I'm going to vote. You know, I hate it because I think about, as y'all talk about the children, because I do have young children also, and it's a hard decision, but I think no matter what, it's going to be there. So it's, do we have any say-so in it or not? So that's kind of where I'm left at.
Comments?
if this easement is approved, it at least gives the town some say-so, some control.
Anything else? Anyone has any other comments?
It's just a matter of the law.
All right, so Anna, we have a motion and we have a second.
Correct.
That's correct, okay. Roll call, Anna.
Higginspoon is absent. Hardy?
No.
Honeycutt?
No.
Jordan?
Yes.
Luster?
Yeah.
Moody?
Yes.
Smith?
No.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carried
4-3.
4-3. Okay. I want to again thank the citizens for taking your time and speaking. And again, please, those that have notes, would you please kindly share those with Anna at the conclusion of our meeting, if possible. Okay, council, on the next item is administrative reports. Consider a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Under items for approval, these are for individual items. Kelly?
Yes, sir. I have before you this evening a proposed ordinance to implement revenue share for solar energy projects. As background, ESA Solar has submitted site plans, as you all well know, for a 2-megawatt solar farm located on Mary Street. Virginia Code Section 58.1-2635 authorizes any locality to adopt an ordinance to assess an annual revenue share on any solar project and waive the machinery and tools tax. The proposed ordinance is included as an attachment for your review and consideration this evening. The recommended motion is to adopt the ordinance to amend the town code to implement revenue share for solar energy projects pursuant to Virginia Code Section 58.1, 2606.1, and 58.1, 2636.
Council?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move to adopt the ordinance to amend the Town of South Hill Code to implement revenue share for solar energy projects pursuant to Virginia Code Section 58.1, 2606.1, and 58.1, 2636.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Roll call, Anna?
Higginspoon is absent. Hardy?
Yes.
Honeycutt?
No.
Jordan?
Yes.
Luster?
Yes.
Moody?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
And Taylor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Finance report.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
The town has been awarded a 2023 Virginia Department of Health grant for the Town of South Hill's lead service line inventory project. The Virginia Department of Health will make a total of up to $160,000 available to the town for researching and developing an inventory of service lines. I ask that you appropriate the grant funds for this purpose.
I make a motion that we make the appropriation of the VDH grant funds for LSL inventory project.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, council, reports in your packet be accepted as presented. Request a motion to accept as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Other business.
I've got a quick question. Hope from our from CJ. I just wanted to know where we were, CJ, with the camera snaking of the lights and stuff. Can you give the council any update on where we are and when to expect that? Because we got budget season coming up, and
so when they came in last summer and started working,
They worked up until November sometime, and they got about 65% done. A couple of them they couldn't find manholes, stuff like that. So we went through and marked up all the maps, and they have shown back up in the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
They've got training now for the next 3 days. They have yearly training for confined space and stuff like that. So they're going to be pulling out because of the storm coming anyway. Won't be able to do anything and come back next week. But they're hoping in the next couple of weeks to have everything finished so that we'll have a report ready for.
But that was my only concern, just to make sure we have it ready, because I'm sure they're gonna pinpoint where we need to start.
Yes, sir.
As far as some of the hot spots or whatever, but I just wanted to make sure we have it for, thank you, CJ.
CJ, along that line, in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, the red zone, they've kind of been going on their own. This time you're gonna have someone with the town to be sure they get to the right spot.
That's exactly what we told them. So this time when you have the crews there, we want somebody with them so that we make sure we get 100%.
Okay, that's what I thought I read in the thank you.
Yep. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I might. Just to echo sentiment, this has been very difficult. I know myself, days I've come home and I feel like I've got every utility line dug up through my yard that ever was, and then with no yard whatsoever to even, take my dogs. So I understand this feeling. It is my sincere hope to the gentleman who's representing the company. I know it's very difficult to sit here and listen to that from the other side. But it is my sincere hope that you will take some of this to heart and work with this neighborhood to find some viable solutions to address. I mean, there's only so much that you can do, but again, you're not unaffected by this, and I'm sure you can understand where they're coming from. I mean, I would feel the same way. It's just very tough. So thank you for working with Kelly, hopefully working with the neighborhood, working with the community.
I also am hoping that you will do the same. You had said earlier that you have a child. You and your partner have a child, so I'm sure, that you understand what our citizens are going through, what they are afraid of, all these kind of things. So, like Councilwoman said, I know it's been hard for you to sit here and hear all of that, but I think it was necessary. It may give you a little light into what our citizens mean. Okay.
Still under other business.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I wanted to speak on this issue and make a request of our town manager. In our community, we have a jointly operated sort of hybrid cooperative approach to our fire department, such that our town owns the vehicles that are operated as a part of the fire department, and it's operated by volunteers who risk life and limb. 3.64 calls a day, I think, is the average that was most recently reported to us. It often takes them into dangerous situations, including Interstate 85, and unfortunately into neighboring jurisdictions who are not as accountable for the personal safety and financial risk and property risk that we are as those who support our South Hill Fire Department. As a result, I'd ask the town manager to provide within 2 to 3 weeks an estimate of dash cams and rear cameras to be attached to all South Hill Fire Department vehicles to ensure that we have, that we can accomplish several things. Number one, as they're entering service calls, to ensure that if there are drivers who do not obey the law, as we have now had on 2 occasions to impact a fire truck within the last 1.5 to 2 years, and other close calls, we have a view as to those offenders, and we can provide that footage to law enforcement. In addition, it will provide a holistic view for firefighters and town administration alike with respect to the operation of those vehicles on the, at minimum, 3.64 calls that take place every day. So for that reason, I'd ask the town manager to look out to what vendors exist for those cameras to be mounted on the front and rear of each fire department vehicle. Thank you. Well, I guess I should add to that, based on your findings, if you could report to us at the next meeting so that we can address how it's appropriated.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anything else, council, under other business? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.